And it tells you one thing: is Zlatan wasn't that type of player he was, those clubs wouldn't have, tried to get his signature.
Yeah.
If it wasn't good enough, United wouldn't have. Oh, sorry. Why did I mention United? United signed a lot of crap players anyway. So, but let's just say,
you're a fan of what club?
Of course, the best club in the world.
Citizen. Oh, okay.
Man City.
Okay.
I said it with aura. Man City.
Like Zlatan.
Like
Like Zlatan.
One of the things you would ever wish for if you're, presenter or an analyst or a guest on any TV show is for you to be on air with those you're comfortable with, those that are your friend, those that you know so well. And today is one of those days for me. Trust me, I've got two amazing people in the studio, super comfortable with them. They are my friend, and I'll tell you why. But firstly, it's Meshville Sports, and I am Kehinde Idris. You know how a podcast is, super relaxed, but you get in-depth breakdown of any issues that we're treating. And today, we'll be on the edge, properly wild. When you hear this topic, you understand, but it's time. Let me bring these guys in. And I'll start from my very far right. He's no other person than the man who is smooth. It's called Long John, but I call him Ojetunde. He's been my friend. We met on the job, but we became friends over time. John Ojetunde.
Yeah, I'm very well. Good to be on Meshview podcast again. But you've influenced me negatively. That's the problem. Because everyone who hears you now, you think you've done something special in my life. Meeting you has been terrible. There's nothing else I'm going to say about that. You know those places where we meet ourselves. You know the things we do.
I don't know those
So
places.
let us begin to tell
One
the
thing
whole
I want
world.
to ask you is, John, are we friends?
Friends with benefits.
No. Okay. Like I do say to anybody, if you're a twin, you would know that we always have our weekly meeting, monthly meeting, annual meeting. So all of us that are twin in the world, we know each other.
Absolutely.
And say I have another twin on air, and it's Taiwo Olatuja.
Yes.
Taiwo, how far?
Very well. Unlike my colleague here, you've been a positive influence.
Very chopped.
You're a twin, and that wins it all for me. So I'm glad to be here to do this with you.
We're laughing now, but I'm sure in another 2-3 seconds, this laughs will dry off our faces because we're about to get into the thick of things. And the topics, we're going for, two topics, and they are both controversial. Let's start with the very first one. And it says, in his prime. Or you can probably say in their prime. But, let me just go by the question. In his prime, Zlatan Ibrahimovic outperformed Luis Suarez. Let me take it from how I introduced. Let me start with John. In their prime, or in his prime, because we're taking it from the angle of Zlatan. Was there any time he's better than Luis Suarez?
Momi Conley. But of course, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is one player that is revered, by so many in the world of football, based on the fact that he's achieved so much in the beautiful game. Of course, there's a controversial part of Zlatan where some people don't really like, some things he says, especially when you listen to some of his interviews. I watched some of his interviews with Piers Morgan, thank you. And, he said a lot of controversial things, and he has never been a fan of Cristiano Ronaldo because there was a time he mentioned strikers that he revered. He mentioned Franz Beckenbauer, mentioned Ronaldo de Lima. Of course, that's even one of his idol. He reveres Ronaldo a lot. Mentioned, in fact, Lionel Messi, but left Cristiano Ronaldo out of it. And he has always said it that he will leave it to the fans to debate if Ronaldo is better than him or he's better than Ronaldo. So back to your question.
Well, I think the numbers can answer that.
Absolutely.
Well, she asked me. Yes, the numbers are there, but I watched. Because I was a Juventus fan before I started supporting Manchester City. At the time when he was
back then, are you right?
Yeah, of course. But when I was watching Juventus at the time, he was Juventus' main man. I love watching Zlatan, the tricks, the flicks. He's so good with everything. He can use his head, he can use his feet, he knows how to hold and play, and bring, other players into the game. He can also, provide assists. And for a man who has scored over 500 goals in his career for both club and country, winning about, total trophies is one. I think it's close to, 30 trophies, but, 14 league titles. for all the clubs he has represented. Yeah, Manchester United, PSG. In fact, this guy has represented. I mean, he has played in some of the best clubs in the world.
Everywhere, only Nigeria.
He's represent the two best teams in Italy. Oh no, okay, sorry. Not the two best teams, but Inter and AC Milan. Come on, he's played for both Inter Milan, played for Juventus. In fact, played for AC Milan.
Yeah.
I can't remember any player that has played for these three clubs. I'm sure they will. I've not researched,
really...
but the guy has played in some of the best clubs in the world. Manchester United.
Barcelona.
In fact, at the time when he was at Man U, when Man U were struggling, and he was still United's goal scorer at the time. Even in fact, United's best player.
Yeah.
And in fact, at that time, it was, for some persons, it's past his prime. And he was still United's best player at the time. So it tells you one thing about the guy. The guy is something special. And I think the influence he has on the game, if the aura he carries, the personality he's got, you really cannot take. Yeah, you can talk about numbers, but see, let's talk about influence and aura. Let's talk about personality and how well he's respected by his peers. Of course, he had a stint in Barcelona, which for so many, the project didn't succeed.
He said Guardiola has a Ferrari and he drives it like a Fiat.
And so they never connected. So you could blame that on the coach, not on Zlatan. So that in fact he still won the league title with Barcelona. I think in 2010 season. So if you put all of this together, it tells you one thing. For me, I think that Zlatan, I'm sure Kehinde will start bringing down numbers, but Zlatan, as far as I'm concerned, looks more like a complete footballer
than Luis
Suarez. As far as I'm complete striker than Luis Suarez. He does everything effortlessly. Okay. He doesn't stress. I tell people, go and watch Zlatan Ibrahimovic when he was actually in Juventus at the time. That guy made me fall in love with strikers. There's a way he refined how strikers should play football. Okay. And so that alone just gave me an idea.
Flair.
Exactly. That's why some people criticize the likes of Erling Haaland, given the David Trezeguets of this world, the Zagis, he's a different type of striker to those guys. He can score and he can make fans stand on their seat to say, wow, this is an exceptional. Remember that goal he scored against England, Sweden, England. Yeah. That goal is being talked about even as we speak. So, let me just draw the curtain here about Zlatan.
Okay, so one thing I say when discussion like this comes up is, John said, I'm sure Taiwo will start drawing out the numbers. I say there was a time when we watch football at the end of the year, you don't need numbers. All you need to do is who played the best football this year, and we all have it in our head. But we're in a era of numbers, and definitely we'll go by our own era. Taiwo, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who calls himself the god of football. As of when he was retired, he said the god is living football, but we're still playing football. Luis Suarez is amazing.
Absolutely.
Luis Suarez made striking look further beautiful from what the likes of Ronaldo, De Lima did and all. And I think in anybody's books, Zlatan does not have anything on Luis Suarez.
So I like the question, and it says in their prime, who played better.
Not all through your career, in your prime.
In their prime, and based on what my colleague said here, I would have said I beg to disagree.
He's not your friend.
No, he's my friend. He's my friend. He's my brother and everything. I would have said I beg to disagree, but trust me, I'm not begging. I completely disagree. In putting out
pride.
You
can call him.
You can call it whatever it is. But we're looking at Luis Suarez. We're looking at all-round player, team player. Who could actually perform in a team that is not even up there. And when we're thinking about that, we look at Ajax. When he was at Ajax, they were not the Ajax of the one called Carlos. He scored, enormous amount of goals there. He came to Liverpool when Liverpool were, I don't know if there's something more negative than, being low. He won the Carabao Cup or the Carling Cup it used to be then. He went on to break the goal scoring record in the Premier League. And mind you, he missed 5 games. With the with the racism, it came into the next season. He missed about 5 games, and he did something that the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Thierry Henry, Wayne Rooney did not do in the English Premier League. Alan Shearer, and even the Zlatan Ibrahimovic when he came to Premier League. Suarez did that. He had another biting whatever. That's 2
Yeah.
He was still scoring goals. He missed, so many games. He went to Barcelona, and when he went to Barcelona, the first positions he played in the first row was the right wing, the left wing. They were trying to still put Messi in that first line role. Suarez was still playing very well. I remember the El Clasico. He did, I think, a goal and an assist or thereabout. And when they changed him to that number 9, now he won the Pichichi.
Yeah.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic has never won in his career. Messi, Ronaldo, back to back doing the Pichichi.
Yeah.
And Suarez came in. For all who don't know, the Pichichi, yes, is the one highest goal scorer for the European League. Yeah. Suarez was the one man. I mean, that did it, and he did it comfortably.
He did it twice.
Twice, playing with a Messi and a Neymar. So for Suarez, he scored. I think he scored more goals than Zlatan, if I'm not mistaken, or probably has more GA. I mean, which you would always term that as an all-round player.
Yeah.
So him saying Zlatan Ibrahimovic is all-round, I do not agree.
I think he has more goals.
I said GA. That's goals and assists.
Okay.
So now I'm not.
You're not even going by the numbers.
I'm not even going by the numbers now. First of all, I started off with influence and how they were able to present themselves to a club who was struggling and try to pull the club up. Remember, Liverpool almost won their first league title in as many years under Luis Suarez.
If not for the sleep.
If not because of the sleep. Suarez single-handedly, dragged Liverpool all the way. He did that with Barcelona, winning the UEFA Champions League. He did that everywhere he played. Now, with Uruguay, he won the Copa America in 2008. I mean, Zlatan never won a trophy. So, with the ramifications that we used to judge players in this present world, we look at the eye test, we look at the stat test, and we look at trophy test. And I'm telling you for a fact, Suarez completely, outperformed Zlatan in that metric. We're talking about eye test. You talk about goals, and when you look at Luis Suarez, most of the goals he scored at Liverpool in the toughest league in the world, that's the Premier League. He scored 40-yard crackers, 35-yard. He scored scissors kick. He scored all type of goals. I would struggle to find a goal of Zlatan Ibrahimovic or Zlatan Ibrahimovic, which beats the ones that Suarez scored.
I beg to differ.
Which one is that? The bicycle kick. But it happened in a friendly game. It was not a competitive game.
It doesn't matter whether it happened in a friendly or in a competitive game. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
as far as it's a goal that's been recorded by FIFA.
I agree.
That goal stands as one of the best.
Yeah.
While Zlatan was playing in that his prime, he called himself a lot of names, but one that stuck really is the fact that he's a god of football.
That's not true.
This man has aura.
That's what he stands for. Of course, he has aura. He's a man
about aura. You must be doing something special.
I mean, the way he presents himself, his ego, the way he thinks is better than all.
Bentner, who plays for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Do you know he has aura? But you can never talk about it.
So
because he was never a class player.
Of course, no. Don't get me wrong. Zlatan was a class player.
Okay.
Right? But the question is,
Compare.
in their prime with Luis Suarez. Okay. I feel Luis Suarez was more class. He's got the work ethic. So look, in football, right? Football is not a one-man game. Football is a collective game, that produces outputs at the end of the season, either trophies or your individual records. That is what Luis Suarez stands for. When you think of Luis Suarez, you're looking at work ethic, a team player, someone who is, grounded, his background, coming off playing for Uruguay and all of that, Nacional in Uruguay, and what he's gone on to achieve, in that. Don't take anything wrong. I'm not going to take anything wrong from Zlatan. He did well in his own, but he was a complete different player to Luis Suarez.
Let me ask, John. Luis Suarez, that he's got class.
Yeah.
That he's got that class. He's got some, he's got that drive. You can't help but to watch a game and you like Luis Suarez with the way, especially work ethic, like Taiwo mentioned. What is, for everything you mentioned, I'm still trying to get that thing that makes, aside horror that I mentioned, that makes Zlatan, really up there. And you can start by honoring Luis Suarez, but point it out to me that really, the kind of clubs, the places he played, because I think Luis Suarez, maybe 3-4 teams at the end of the day, we're talking Barcelona, Liverpool, Ajax, and all
Ajax, Liverpool, Barcelona.
For Zlatan, he traveled like traveling was almost going out of fashion.
And trust me, that's like the goal and the dream of every player. I mean, to visit, other cities and also to represent the best clubs in that city. And that's exactly what he's done. I talked about the fact that he's represented some of the best clubs in the world, PSG, not name them on and on. And it tells you one thing: is Zlatan wasn't that type of player he was, those clubs wouldn't have tried to get his signature.
Yeah.
If it wasn't good enough, United wouldn't have. Oh, sorry, why did I mention United? United signed a lot of crap players anyway. So, but let's just say,
you're a fan of what club?
of course, the best club in the world.
Citizen. Oh, okay.
Man City.
Okay.
I said you aura. Man City.
Like Zlatan.
Like Zlatan. So I mean, you look at Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and you talked about the fact that Suarez played the likes of Messi and Neymar. That alone tells you one thing: he played with some of the best players in the world. And also look at the number of assists Messi had when Suarez was in Barcelona. Messi had more assists at the time because he had someone who can finish very well, which was Luis Suarez. But if you look at Ibrahimovic, I'm not saying he hasn't
played alongside Messi.
He played that, but the circumstance at the time. Please don't let us go. Circumstance at the time.
No, we'll go.
I'm sure if Zlatan had stayed 3 more years or 2 more years, not with that same conditions, I think that he would have also scored more goals as well. Yes, and let me also say this: I knew Zlatan never won. He never won the Champions League.
Yeah,
but you can't take anything away from what he has done in the clubs that he has represented.
Yeah.
He when he's in those teams, he looks like he's the main man. He wants to control everything. And so it only takes players who've got self-belief and a high level of self-confidence to actually impose themselves on the manager and also on the fellow players,
and also the fans.
And also the fans as well. So Zlatan, for me, he has rolled out Suarez's achievements and
trust I've never done.
Yeah, but even in fact, Suarez himself, you look at the titles he has, he didn't win more titles than Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Zlatan won more titles. Yes. Zlatan won more titles. In fact, more league titles. He won 14 league titles, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And I don't think Suarez had, let's say,
it does not have up to 40.
In Liverpool, he didn't win.
He didn't win a single title.
He didn't win a single. No, I think he won the Carling Cup.
Yeah, he won the Carling Cup, not the title.
So, see, in terms of achievement, Kenny, you have a guy, or let's say you have a man who he's visited virtually the best European countries.
Has there ever been a time any club he had played that is solely the main man?
When he was at PSG,
He wasn't the main man.
Who was the main man?
We had other players like Di Maria.
No, they were not. Since Zlatan was, they relied virtually on Zlatan to get the goals. They relied on Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
So many people were getting goals.
But he outscored every other person in that team.
Are you sure he outscored Cavani?
Yeah.
Because Mbappe broke Cavani's record, not Zlatan.
No.
In PSG.
No, what I'm saying is for Cavani, because
he played with Mauro Icardi.
Mauro Icardi didn't outscore him. Mauro Icardi was on the bench. I think it was Cavani. Yeah. At the time, there was the season Cavani was injured. Zlatan scored more goals in that season and they won the title. It was Zlatan's goals that, in fact, led them to the title.
But I tell you, John, so many people easily would forget things that Zlatan did at PSG.
What about Manchester United?
I think the only place Zlatan is really, really revered is Italy.
Milan.
AC Milan?
No, all of in his time in Italy.
Yes,
I think
he had a very good time. Yeah,
it was.
In fact, when he was playing the likes of David Trezeguet at Juventus, where they had the likes of Del Piero, they had the likes of Pavel Nedved, they had amazing players in that team. Zlatan still stood tall. Del Piero was the golden boy of Italian. No, sorry. Was it at the time? It wasn't, because they had Totti and the other guy. But
no, he was a golden boy.
He was, but I don't think he was the golden boy of the Italian.
Like a poster boy.
He was Juventus poster boy at the time. Okay. I don't want to talk about the Italian shot because they had fantastic players.
During
their set. So he was the poster boy of Juventus at the time. and still Zlatan imposed himself. He was still the most influential player. Okay, not the most, but one of the influential players they had at the time in that team. And it tells you a lot.
You said you're not done reeling out, some things about Luis Suarez, because I think to a bit it's starting to win me over. Let me get that part that you've not let out.
So he spoke about Messi giving out the assist and everything in Barcelona. And I just want to remind everyone, including we here, that there were times that Luis Suarez won the assist of he had the highest number of assists playing in the La Liga. He had it in the Premier League. You just imagine when you think of a player, a striker, a person who any club will rely on him for goals. But he doesn't just give goals, he finishes off with assists. You understand? So that shows how much of a proper rounded player he is. And also for Luis Suarez, we spoke about Zlatan playing for every country or leagues. That's not what determines a very good player. The influence that Luis Suarez had, not just in Liverpool, for example, but in the Premier League, the records that he set, that it took how many years for players to break, even at Barcelona. If it was that easy playing with Messi, what happened to Zlatan at Barcelona? If his attitude was good, he would have stayed. But Suarez's attitude was good and he stayed. And Messi.
You are bringing Suarez and attitude the same.
Messi. I'm talking about
the man that bites.
No, he bites. We can say that, but
biting was survival.
It was so.
Are you really saying that?
Funny. But let me just finish up with this. For Luis Suarez, right? He is a guy who you would want to play with. He is a guy who you would want to pass the ball to, and you want to be on the attack with.
Okay.
For Zlatan, for all that he was as a footballer, he is a one-man player. He always think of himself first. And in football or in the contact sport, you have to play as a team. That's the first level of mentality that you should have. Play as a team, and you can win as a team. Luis Suarez, for me, did it everywhere. He did it in the UEFA Champions League. He's a Champions League winner.
Yeah.
The other guy isn't.
The other guy. Yeah. Zlatan has become the other guy. But some persons will remind anybody that Zlatan's second coming to AC Milan gave them another title. The last time they did was the last time he played in AC Milan. Talking about influence, I think that is huge influence. And that is why I think he still held that name, the God of football. You can use small letter G. He doesn't care which letter you use, but just call him the God of football. He said for any name you call, I am their God. And somehow he proved it over time. But I think there's something beautiful about Luis Suarez, the way he does his business. And for the bite issue, it's always a case of I'm doing it for my team. You can almost not fault him if you're a team member, a fan, or a management of the team he plays for. I'm sure you have other opinions or you support one of these guys. Let's just get your opinion right there in the comment section, and we'll further go on with our discussion.